Hello everyone, thanks for joining in. Welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. Let me introduce you to my guest, Laura. Laura, thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Laura. So let's just start with the very basic question. So can you please introduce our audience about yourself, like who you are, what work you do, what profession you are in, like who you are according to you?
Who I am according to me. First and foremost, I'm a mom, and I have a teenage daughter.
Okay.
But I'm also an author. I've written over 60 books, and I have 21 New York Times bestselling books. So I'm a storyteller by trade. And if people really ask me, what do you do? I tell them I'm a storyteller. And I'm also a film producer and director. And I have a new documentary out right now called Anxious Nation that explores the crisis of anxiety among our youth. And although we've made it as a project for North America, what we know is that this is a global issue, and it impacts, kids from all over the world.
Yeah.
And one of the things in the film that's really interesting is that we curated artwork from all over the world, and we have artwork for kids in India.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the artwork depicts their state of anxiety.
Yeah, I think it's a very soft topic that most of the people don't touch it, but it's really important to talk on it as well, because in most of the Asian parts, like mental health, people don't take it seriously, right? Because some of them might feel shy, or like people are not open to talk about mental health, right? Because somehow they take it in a very negative way, right? So I think that's what you have tried to cover, right?
Yeah, we've experienced a lot of cultural shame and stigma in this country, and particularly among the Asian community, certainly the brown and black communities in the United States, and it's seen as being weak for some reason. You can drink or you can do drugs, and that's not considered weak. But if you talk about having a mental health problem like anxiety or depression, and frankly, I don't know anyone who isn't anxious given the state of the world today, right? You don't know why anybody would see that as being weak.
Correct. That's a very important thing. I think everyone should watch that movie, right? And I think it's available on Prime, on the US server, and on Google Play and Apple TV, right?
And Apple. So on iTunes, it's available. But we're opening up the territories after the first of the year. I think it'll be available in India.
Yeah, I will add the link to that movie on the descriptions, okay, on the server that it's available, so that anyone who's watching this can go out and watch that as well. Right? That's amazing. Yeah, and so you have talked about, like, you have written 60 books, and out of which 20 are the best selling on the New York Times, right? So any thoughts on it? Like, do you want to add few lines on it? Like, what genre you write, or how someone can come more into the art of storytelling, because it's something that everyone wants to have, but it is that one thing that everyone can't have, right? And it's very important for people to know the art of storytelling, because whenever you are communicating to the people, you should know how you can grab their attention or have them paying attention to what you are speaking, right? That is where this key thing comes, like the art of storytelling. So any thoughts on that, though?
Sure. So I write all nonfiction. So every book that I write is nonfiction, and they're primarily memoirs, life stories, business books, health and wellness books. But what I know about storytelling is that it's as important for the individual as it is for a corporation. And so often the internal story does not match the external story when it comes to a business. So, everybody sits around in a boardroom or a conference room, and they have a lot of conversations about what the company is. And then the story that they're telling to the rest of the world doesn't match that. And so it's really important to be able to have synchronicity in your storytelling in business. It's also really important when somebody says, tell me about yourself, that you have an answer that makes it very simple for somebody to understand who you are, not just what you do.
Yeah, I think that's the very important point, to make people understand what to convey to them, right?
Correct. I think it's really important. And I think people, the world is built on relationships. Some are good and some are not so good. but the relationships are really important. And I think relationships in all areas, our families, our coworkers, our children, I think, they're the most important relationships because they're the people you come into contact every day. So how do you communicate? And that's really the art of storytelling. How do you communicate in those circles?
Any key factor you want to tell people who wants to improve their art of storytelling? Like any point you want to tell to them, or any advice?
Sure. A great exercise is when you started off this interview by saying, tell us who you are, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great question. And I think it's a really great question to not only ask yourself and write down the answer, but ask 5 people who are closest to you to describe you, and take a look at what all the commonalities are and maybe what some differences are. Because that'll show you who you think you are versus how you're being perceived.
Yeah. I think there is a quote where I don't know the author name, but it says, I am not what I think I am, not what you think I am, what I think you think I am. that is where I think this thought will match here. So that's really awesome. So let me jump to my next question. So I think you have already achieved a lot of things, but is there any dream that you are still chasing, or any professional dream that you want to share with us? I mean, any goal right now for you?
One of the things that I really hope to do when we launched Anxious Nation, we started off in the film festival circuit, and we were in a lot of film festivals all over. And what I realized was that there was so much good content that will never see the light of day. There are all these great films that people are making that will not get a Netflix to come in and buy them, or any of the other streamers, because they were made independently.
Yeah.
So one of my dreams is to give artists a home for this content through our own streaming service, where we have an outlet for them. We have a place for this incredible content, all film, right? Shorts, features, but all content. And content that inspires and educates. So it's content that makes you feel good, makes you think, makes you go, And we really think that there's such a need for that. But the uplifting stuff is really what I am drawn to. Because even though I made a film about anxiety, the film is really about what can I do about it, right? It's about solution.
Correct.
And I think we're so hungry for information today on all sorts of topics. So my dream right now is, if I can, find my audience with Anxious Nation, is to look into and launch our own streaming platform.
I think that's really an amazing idea, because I think there is a lot of hindrance, or I can say restrictions, when it's come to releasing your movies on platforms or even in theaters as well, right? Because we have censor boards and every other thing, where I think what the director or the filmmaker is trying to convey might get missed because of the cuts that the artist, that the movie need to go through to pass certain kind of certificate rating. But if there is a platform where there is no cuts and they can truly convey their message, what they are truly trying to do, I think that would be the best thing, not only for the artist, but I think for the whole world, right? Because then they will be able to convey their message in a very good form, and that's the best thing any artist or a filmmaker or a director can ask for, right? I think that's very needing dream for this world, I think, that you are having right now. Hope you get success on it soon. And I hope it also get releases all over the world, not only for a specific reason or a country.
No, the streaming platform will be global if we do it. And we're leaning into doing it, but we're really trying to build our audience, which, mental health in general is an audience that is either super engaged or like, it's too hard, I don't want to talk about it, right? So, and again, we go back culturally, there are just communities that just don't even want to, even if they'll watch the film in the privacy of their own home. So we're really trying to figure out what that balance is. But I think you'll be hearing more about the Anxious Nation Network.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing thing, and I hope to hear more on this, and I will also like to contribute on it if I can, by any means, right? Like
Love
just
that.
now taking your interview and spreading it to whatever people I can, right? So a very good thing also. I think everyone should go and see or just have a read about it, like what Anxious Nation is all about, right? So I hope people will go and see it.
And so if they can't watch the movie, they can definitely go to anxiousnation.com.
Yeah, I have visited the website, and I think it's already linked on your website as well. So I think people can visit from there as well. So
thank you.
Just a final question now. Any story you want to share from your overall experience, or anything you want to talk on? Like anything you want to tell the audience about?
Yeah, look, I don't know when this is going to air, but we're going into, I think, first of all, I think we're in a very challenging time in the world, around the world, globally. I think that we're all being challenged in very unexpected ways. But as we go into the holiday season, I think that so many of us will struggle. We'll struggle with our emotions.
Right.
And here in the United States, we're going into an election year, and there's a lot going on that is making us feel on edge. And I just want to say that if you are feeling that way, reach out to somebody, talk to a family member, talk to, somebody that you respect and admire, talk to your best friend, talk to a therapist if that feels right to you. But try to understand that these are normal feelings given everything that we're going through. And know that there is no shame. You are not alone. This isn't just happening to you. I think when you talk about it, I think you'll find so many people are actually feeling the same way. So I just want to say that as we're going into the holiday season, which is traditionally the most depressed month, December, right? Just know that there are lots of resources available to help get you through.
Right.
And by all means, if you're having any thoughts of suicide, please reach out and ask for help.
Right. I think that's the most important thing that we can tell the people who are watching this, like take mental health seriously, right? Any type of anxiety or depression is not good for you, not even good for the relatives that you are having or the circle that you are into, right? Because everyone affects each other. So if you feel like you can't talk to them, then I think it's good to see a therapist or even talk to your family members or relatives, or even if you're not feeling like you are comfortable sharing it with your family members, then you can go out and see a therapist at that moment of time, right? I think that's the main motive behind it. So it's a really important thing that everyone should care about, take care of, and even see their surroundings. If anyone is suffering from it or anyone is feeling low, then we should also try to cheer them up at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to say that it's those feelings come and go, right? Anxiety does not have a lot of tricks in its toolbox, and it shows up exactly the same way, maybe not because of the same things, but the feeling shows up exactly the same way. So learning what to do about it when it happens, when it comes, is, part of resilience, right? It's the world is sometimes challenging. But I think it's really important. And we know that this is something that globally that we're all going through. Just know that these feelings are like the ocean, right? They're like the waves. They come in and they roll out. And that's true for grief and, maybe some other things. But I do want to leave you with two thoughts. One, I want to express that in our film, we talk about how we take, our physical health so much more seriously than our emotional health.
Yeah. And
that if you have a rash, right, that you'll put some cream on it. And if the rash doesn't go away in like 2 days, you're going to the doctor. And if that doesn't go away, then you're going to the dermatologist.
Correct.
And yet we'll wait and wait and wait when it comes to our emotional state, right? We have to treat above the neck and below the neck exactly the same, because it's all health.
Yeah.
It's all health. And if you remember this, that you take a rash more seriously than feelings of sadness, right? Then ask yourself if you're really being fair to yourself. That's number one. And number two, I really want to remind people that anxiety is just energy.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Right, it is just energy. And with all things that are energy, we can harness it and we can use it for good.
Right.
It does not have to be the thing that anchors us down, keeps us back. it can actually be the thing that thrusts us forward. And we see that so often with like athletes and musicians and actors. They take that energy and they push it into their performance. And you actually can learn to do that. So I just want to remind people that it's just energy. It is not a noose around your neck. It's not, it's not something that should hold you back. It's actually something that in the right circumstances can actually move you forward. And I just want to remind people of that.
That's the best thing to end this interview. I think the best point that we can learn that it's common to everyone, not only to a specific person. So not only you who is suffering from it. I think the whole world has these feelings. And since it is an energy, so it can be transformed into a different thing as well. And you can use it up to your benefits as well, right? So I think that's the best point on which I think we can wrap this up. So thank you so much, Laura. I think this is one of the best thing that I have talked on recently on my recent chats. So thank you so much for this whole conversation, and thanks for your time. Hope to see that platform soon, and can see a lot of good work on it and get inspired from this.
My pleasure. Best of luck with your podcast. I'm really, really happy to hear that you're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
All right. Take care.